Hi everyone, I'm Graddles, and welcome back to a new episode in the Evolution series. Today we are doing power, because we cannot build more factories until we had more power. So I had set up just a small little oil setup close to home just to get some plastic and to really just push through some of the milestones, but I need power, real power. And so anyway, I made this motors factory. And I had the freedom to put it basically anywhere I wanted because I needed to make stators to make the motors. The rotors are being made at the iron factory. And so I decided that I would put this right over here. There's where our hub is and our trains. And there's our iron factory. So I am bringing in the pipes and the wire to make the stators and the rotors on this little train right here. And that's why we made the motors factory over here. So I wanted to give you a quick little tour of our motors factory before we moved on to our power. Alright, so we have 12 assemblers making stators in sets of like 2. And we have 4 sets going up to make motors. So let's head up there. And the rest are staying stators just in case we need stators for something else. I don't even know if we need stators for something else. There may be, but I'm not sure. So anyway, here's our 4 assemblers making motors. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one there. Yeah, it's a little messy on the top. Nothing crazy, but they're not bumping into each other. It's fine. But yeah, so we have 4 making motors. And I'll show you the little bit of the logistics floor down below. Here's the logistics floor for the stators. That's the wire and the pipes. But anyway, today is all about power. So let's go ahead, jump in, and let me show you a little bit of what we did. All right, so here we are at the power place. So we have a lot going on. As you can see, it extends from here all the way over to there because we needed compacted coal. We needed 2 pure nodes of sulfur, 2 pure nodes of coal to make our compacted coal, and a pure iron, node. What the hell am I talking about? And a pure oil node. Yes, that would be correct. So anyway, let me open up our map. So here we are on the map. We're all the way up north. We have 2 pure iron. Why do I keep saying iron? 2 pure oil nodes up here, and we're only utilizing 1. Over here is where we're picking up our coal. Over here where the train is, here, that is the sulfur. We're making compact coal over here, and then we start what we're doing over where my name is. So we have a lot going on. So if you want to do this recipe, you need your alternative recipes for heavy residue and your packaged fuel, I think, or I'll show you as we go along. But anyway, you need that compacted coal for Turbofuel, period, end of story. But this is the packaged water, unpackaged water, Turbofuel, to get the most power that you can possibly get. So let me just show you how much power we are making. So right now, I shut down the old little oil power plant that I had going on just to progress in the game. And all we have is this power and our biomass coal plant, which was probably around 4 or 5, I don't know, 6,000 maybe, I don't even know. But anyway, we are making 54,619, which 44.4 something is just coming from here. So maybe I was making like 10,000, I don't know. But anyway, oh, I have the power augmenter. That's why I'm getting the extra for the 10% boost. But anyway, compact coal, let's go ahead, head over there, because that's going to be your first step that you really should do to make sure you have what you need to make your turbo fuel. And then we'll come back to what we're doing with the oil. All right, let's take a look at the map. So we are over here now where the sulfur is being brought down. The compact coal is being made. That's just some pure deuterium. I was playing with the idea of making a factory maybe over here. Not sure yet. But anyway, there's the pure coal. and we are not bussing in the coal. So one of my issues was I needed Mark V belts. I have not done aluminum yet because I needed power. So without the Mark V belts, I cannot bring the stuff in at 600. So I got some tickets and I bought some equipment, which was the alclad sheets. So this way I can make some Mark V belts. But I didn't want to waste a lot of that, so I bussed in our coal. So let's see. Here we are. So here is the coal being trained in. It's actually trained in. So our train is going back to the coal, and that is all Mark V belts over by the coal. And the same thing goes for the sulfur over here. These are all Mark V lifts and belts, and the sulfur is right up on the top there, but I don't need to show you. There's two of them. There's one on the top there, and there is one, let me open up this map here. Over here, there's one in this canyon. So I am bringing it up on a Mark V lift, bringing it over to here, and then this is bringing over here and belted down. The coal, the belts we're using here, these are Mark Vs. The train is picking up. I have 4 cars, so these are split up, as you can see, in 2 and 2. So I have 4 cars, or freight cars, and those are being trained into here. Then the sulfur is coming in on one line here, and here's the other line right here. So there's 2 lines of sulfur. So anyway, that brings us to the compact coal. So after we brought in, see, the 4 freights of the coal, we merged them into 2 lines. Let's go underneath here. Let's double click so I drop faster. And I merged them back into their own pure nodes. So that's 1 and that's 2, if that makes sense. Again, all Mark V belts. See, there we go. And they're getting split up into 2 modulars. So each of these modulars are getting 1 pure node of each, the coal and the sulfur. And that is going into 10 and 10 of these assemblers. In the assemblers, I have these making 60 per minute. So I overclock this to 60 per minute. Times 10 is the 600. Each of these have their own lines going into 4 more freights. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So each of these 5 lines is getting bussed into these guys. So that is the reason I could have bussed this with the belts if I had more alkaline sheets or alclad sheets. I don't know how you say it exactly, but that's kind of it. But yeah, no, these are getting bussed over to our power. So next, let's go over and see what we're doing with the power. Again, at the end of the video, I will post pictures of our compacted coal with the pure nodes and what the insides of the machines look like. So yeah, let's go ahead and head over. All right, so here's our only oil extractor, extracting 600, overclocked. And that is getting sent to 20 refineries. The 20 refineries are broken up into 4 modulars, which have 5 refineries each. The oil is actually coming in on both sides. So if you see the black pipe, it's coming down the middle here, and it's actually lifted over and coming back over to here. And that is so the middle ones, well, if you put it on one end, these end ones would starve, right? And now coming into both sides, they're the middle, they're completely full. So everybody's pretty happy and they're all getting enough oil. And that brings us to the next step, which is the recipe. So this is the alternative heavy oil residue recipe. And that is making us 40 heavy residue and polymorph resin. So with that, we do have all these pipes coming out. So for each modular, they have their own pipes, which these could be Mark 1 because 5 times the 4 is only 200, so you could use Mark 1, which I would suggest, even though I use Mark 2. Mark 2 are not stable. They do a lot of sloshing, and sometimes it could be a mess, and I've had some issues, but I kind of fixed it, and I don't want to touch it to move them back to the Mark 1s. But anyway, these are getting pushed out to their own thing. So that's going to set us up for each of the modulars over there. So they have 5 to 1 and 5 to 1 and etc. The polymer resin, that's coming out over to here on both lines here. I just set up a quick little line coming in from each of them. That's going to 5 of these refineries, which are turning the polymer resin into the plastic. Now, I actually have 5 and they're overclocked a little bit, but when I get to the end here, I don't even need them probably overclocked because they're working fine. But I'm just going to leave it alone, just because I'd rather it not back up the poly resin and then cause an issue with them not being able to make the heavy oil residue. So I just want them to keep working. But anyway, that brings us up to the plastic. So I'm filling up with plastic here, and I have 10 double storage containers, and these guys are filling up. And this way we have a little backlog on plastic. I might actually add a few more because later game we're going to use a lot of plastic. Although I am probably going to set up another oil setup somewhere. Probably not this much, but somewhere we're going to be adding more plastic and rubber. But anyway, once these fill up, we want to make sure we put a smart splitter right down in here, which is pointed in this direction. So the overflow goes to the center, nothing goes to the left, and to the right it says any, but really it's just plastic. You could put plastic, but the only thing coming through on this is plastic. So you don't have to put plastic. You could just put any, and that would be fine. But once this plastic fills up, everything will be put into the sink, so nothing will get backed up and we won't have a problem. So again, I'm going to put pictures at the end with the overclock. What the heck? Why do I'm using extra power shards in these. Alright, that's good. I don't know why. But anyway, and I'll show you the insides of these machines and the setup. So let's move on to the next step. Alright, so here's our 4 modulars. We have the pink, the white, the green, and the yellow. These are exactly the same setups. So I'm only going to show you one of the modulars all the way through, because it would be repeating itself if I did all 4. But anyway, those are the pipes coming in. And we got our pink pipe, our white pipe, green pipe, and yellow pipe. That goes to the modulars. So first step, let's jump out of this mode. Should we use the white? It's a little easier on the eyes than that pink. That's kind of obnoxious, but that's beside the point. So anyway, I have water. Water, I have overclocked. Probably too high, but it's fine. I'm getting the water I need. 2, I'm going to put a picture up, and the water is going to 7 packagers. So here's the packagers right here. So we're getting the water. Now empty canisters. So you're going to need 200 canisters per each of these packaged water. So we're going to put 1 in the front here and 1 in the unpackager later on. So 200, we got 7 of these. 7, 14, 21, 28. So we're going to need 280 times 2. So if we bring up this, it's 280 times 2 equals, we're going to need 560 empty canisters. But that shouldn't be a problem now that you're making your plastic. They go really quick. I would set up, it's just a constructor. Let's show you really quickly. It's just a constructor like that. Drop on down, open it up, and canisters. 2 plastic, make 4 empty containers. Super easy. And start making your containers before you even set this up. So now that we got the empty canisters, we're going to dump the 100 in because they stack by the 100. And what we're going to do is make packaged water. So I came into the fourth one, I split it in there and let them go to either side with the water. So that made it, the water gets distributed evenly. If we go all the way down to this last one, you can see we got 50 water. So that is the first step in your power. Next, we are going to take our packaged water and put it into this refinery and the heavy oil residue into this refinery. This recipe is alternative diluted packaged fuel. So what this is doing, it's taking the water and the heavy residue and it's doubling the heavy residue to make the 60 per minute fuel. And that is why this is so powerful, is because it doubles that heavy residue. So it's actually like ingenious, right? So anyway, that's the recipe you're going to want. You're going to have 7 of these refineries, and they are all clocked at 60 per minute until you get to the very end. The last refinery here, this is going to be underclocked to 40. The reason being is we don't have enough heavy residue oil. So underclock the last one, the 7th one, to 40. Everything else can stay at 60. So that is going to be our second step. The third step in the modular is unpackaging. So basically you're going to take the same packager and this time you're going to unpack your fuel right here, and that's going to give you 100 canisters back. But what you're going to do with those extra canisters, so we got 100 and 100, you're going to put 100 in this and 100 in there, and it'll keep cycling through so you never run out of canisters midway. So this has 100, this has 100, and this has 100, and there's still room on the belt to keep moving through, and it's not a problem. You could put a little extra, a little less. Obviously I think I have 300 in here, but as long as it keeps moving, it's fine. So anyway, that is unpackaging your canisters, and then you recycle your canisters all the way back to the beginning, and they just keep running through, and it's not an issue. And so the canisters are being recycled, but now we're up to the 60 fuel we get. So now technically this should be probably down to 40 because this is 40, but it really doesn't matter. It can do the 60. It's just getting pushed out to 2 more refineries. So this is where the compact coal comes in. So you'll see this line here, and we're going to go back to the trains because that's where our compact coal is coming in. So over here, we have the 4 lines of coal coming in, the compact coal. The compact coal is getting trained in from that side to this side, and each one of those is filling up one of our modulars. So right now we are working with the white one, which happens to be down on this line. That's coming back to the next step. So over here, I split the compact coal because I have refineries here and here, and I'll explain why that is in a moment. All right, so our 60 per minute is now getting split right here and here, and the compact coal is being added to make our turbo fuel. This is overclocked to 30 per minute, so this way it only takes 2 refineries to use the 60 per minute to make the turbo fuel. So each one of these goes out to 2. 1 and 2. The second one here on the line, I actually put in front to make it a little bit more compact. So that is why I have the compact coal split, because there's 2 lines. Every other one goes in the front. So this one stays to the back, this one goes to the front, and so on. So now we get up to our 40 per minute, which, let's go over to here, 40 per minute. So that is going to give us 20. So we had to underclock these to 16.67 to give us the 20 per minute. So that is using the 40 right there. That is the only one that should be underclocked to match the refinery behind it. And that's fine. So that is that step, and I'll show you the pictures at the end. But now we're pushing this turbo fuel towards the front. So this is where you're going to want to wrap around, again, your power. So these are our power generators, and we have 20. They are overclocked as well. Now the reason being is I had tons of power slugs and tons of power shards, and it just made sense to use them and make these modulars as compact as possible. So the inside of this, these are overclocked to the 555.5 to give us the 44,000 with all four running. We have 20, 40, 60, 80 power generators. And this is how I have the fuel coming out, and it's all running from the back to the front and around the outsides on both sides and down the middle. Now I did have some issues with the middle starving a little bit, but that is because I didn't wait for everything to fill up. You must wait for everything to fill up. When these say 50 all the way through all 20, then you could turn them on. If you notice that you didn't do that, turn these on standby, wait for this to fill to 50, and then turn them all back on. And yeah, that's going to be it pretty much. So I set these up, like I said, with the power shards. I had tons and tons of power shards, and I wasn't using them, but I thought it would be great if I can make a compact area out of this. And we are making 44,416 power just from this setup. Now it's large, but it's not incredibly large. And if you break it down, it should be pretty simple to follow. The hardest part for me was that stupid compact coal, getting the coal and the sulfur and then bringing it in. It was only because they were such a distance away. If you have coal closer, good. But to find coal and pure nodes, you need pure nodes. And I'm only working with pure nodes in this series. So yeah, I'm going to need the power because nuclear has no pure nodes. So we're going to need all the oil power we can make. But now that we are producing over 50,000 megawatts of power, we can continue our series, and we should be able to go quite a long time without having to make more power. But in the sidelines, if I feel like making more power, I will do it. I just won't make an episode on it, but I'll show it to you. So that is going to conclude the power part of this episode. And we're going to head over to the trains, and I'll show you what I did with the trains. And you saw the motors factory, so that was, we don't need to see that. But I really do want to show you the trains and how that is actually working, because we are actually pulling everything that we're making in from our factories, bringing it to the hub, and then picking up those items from the hub and bringing them to make new factories. So let's go ahead, jump over it, and we'll see those trains. right, so this is our train system. So we have a level here that's our drop-off level, and that drops off everything we're making at our factories. So we got our motors, and we got our iron, our steel, our quartz, and our copper. So if we turn around, we have two lines, both going in the same direction. Yes, they're both going in the same direction, and they're going around, and they're picking up, and then bringing them back to here. If we come down into here, this is our hub where we're keeping everything we have. So everything's getting dropped off, and we have 3 containers of backup here. So 3 containers full, and then I'm bringing them out and bringing them down into this kind of area over here. When I go up a level, you'll see what's going on. So up in here, I have kind of a wall, which I'll probably backlight with some kind of lighting. But right now, this is just our wall of everything we have. So we have our wire, sheets, cable, all that stuff. I'm not going to go through it all, but yes. And then our motors and our stators. So in here, this is what's taking our wire, our pipes, and our rotors to our motors factory. And that right there says motors pickup hub. And I made this tunnel that's bringing the stuff to the motors. And that's kind of the plan, is to make tunnels to drop stuff off at the factories for stuff to be made. So this is going, let's go back down. This is getting pushed from these belts up here over to here. I'm not sure how messy and stuff these are going to get when I get other things. I'm hoping to do a drop down with certain heights of maybe some of the belts. I don't know, some lifts. I'm not really sure how I'm going to work that out just yet. I might have to put another line of floor here and work things out to get things not to overlap each other. But right now this seemed to work, so I've been doing it this way. And I think what I'm going to do is this whole top piece is going to be this kind of building with the tunnels kind of spanning out from each one. And the tunnels were not too difficult to make, but they were blueprinted. So I do have blueprints for the tunnels. It has the curved piece, just a little bit of a curve there. And if we get into them, they're all lit up right here. And as you can see, it goes all the way to our motors factory. So yeah, I wanted something unique, something different, and I kind of like the idea of having a tunnel. So anyway, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the pictures. I hope they were helpful. And let me know how it goes. I'll link to my Discords in the description. Come on over. We hang out in VC quite a bit. And we do play some Satisfactory, play other games as well. And yeah, if you like, subscribe, comment, share. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.